Said differently, I think leadership is not measured when things go according to plan, when the leader's there, but rather why don't we look at how well things go when the leader is not present.
Welcome to People Who Perform, the Real Estate Careers Podcast. Each episode will bring you conversations from business leaders and up-and-coming stars in the commercial real estate industry in Canada. Our guests will share their unique career journeys, passions, and advice on what it takes to be successful in this industry. This podcast is brought to you by Highview Partners, connecting people who perform in Canadian real estate.
In this, our first episode of 2023, I will be connecting you with David Hoffman, General Manager at Hines Canada and current Chair for the BOMA Toronto Board of Directors. With over 20 years of progressive leadership within the industry, David has a wide and resourceful perspective on the many challenges that face property managers and owners. During his career, David has overseen two of the most prestigious business communities in downtown Toronto, the CIBC Square campus on Bay Street and the Toronto Dominion Centre on Wellington. Today, we will discuss his journey through the industry and learn from his experiences of building and engaging high-performing teams.
I've always had big ears, but these headphones, like these, really make me have some real big ears. Yeah, so even bigger than normal. Thanks for being here. I love it. This is actually the first time that I've ever done an electronic video or podcast or recording in the last 2 years. So can you hear me? Let's test the mic. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
It's in the spirit of COVID, David.
Yeah.
Well, a very happy, healthy, and prosperous new year ahead for you, I do hope. Now, this is the first podcast of 23, so absolutely no pressure at all. You're only setting the benchmark for all future guests.
I'll be sure to set the benchmark really low.
It's a conversation we've been waiting on having for quite some time, so it's really great to have you here, and thanks for joining us. Now, we've got a lot to unpack. The theme of today's podcast is centered around leadership. Before we get to the heart of the episode, why don't I set the scene for a moment and we can dive into the ins and outs of your journey? How does that sound?
Sounds great. I'm excited. Let's do it.
Excellent. So you've had 3 notable rotations in your career. The first at the Globe and Mail, the second was at Cadillac Fairview, and now you're in your 3rd rotation with Hines. And during that time, you've managed a number of AAA office towers in the downtown core. You've built a number of high-performing teams, and more recently, from the ground up at CIBC Square. And away from the day-to-day operations, you are the current chair for the board of directors at BOMA Toronto. How did I do? Did I miss anything off the resume?
Who are you talking about? You're not talking about me. I mean, that guy sounds impressive. Wow. I want to meet him.
It certainly is an impressive CV, and I'm very honored to be sitting here with you today. So looking forward to having this conversation. So why don't we rewind to the year 2000? You are starting your real estate career at the Globe and Mail. How did this role fuel your desire to pursue a lifelong career in real estate?
Great question. It actually started before the Globe Mail when I came out of university, the University of Toronto. And my very first job was at a management trainee on the midnight shift, making something like $25,000 or $30,000 a year. They paid me almost nothing for it. And it was in a uniform plant, uniform service and garment manufacturing plant. I hated that job. But there was certain parts and elements of that job that I really enjoyed, and it seemed to be around logistics, utilities, maintenance, and people. And I thought of, why don't I continue along the same path, rewrite my resume, and try a career in real estate? And the rest is history.
Well, it sounds like the multifaceted nature of the work really appealed, and that in many respects is one of the key ingredients to a career in real estate. So it sounds like your time at the garment manufacturing plant, although painful at that time, it was part of the journey in getting you on the right track towards the type of work that you desired. Now, that being said, could you share what some of the big takeaways were back then, David, and how do they stand true today?
The early days of my career were full of mistakes and full of opportunities for learning, which all of which I've always been in tune with, and each single time, even today, from those early days to even today, I try and learn from my mistakes and not make the same ones twice. And I've also learned from the mistakes of many of my bosses and managers and peers to really be attuned to what is going well and what is not going well, and what's resonating with me and what's not resonating with me. And a lot of that have brought forward to today.
Yeah, mistakes are certainly a great training ground that help us to develop the skills and the experiences that are required for us to grow inside of our careers. And I would agree with you. They are a great opportunity to learn and grow, and especially in the early days of your career when mistakes are perhaps a little bit less costly. Now, prior to joining the Globe and Mail, you completed your BCom at the University of Toronto. And while you were at the Globe, you started your MBA program. What was guiding you towards completing your MBA at that time, David?
I think two things. The first one being I wanted to use it as a tool to open doors for me in the future. I wanted to have a long runway in my future, and I knew that I'd be disappointed if certain doors were closed to me just because I didn't put in the effort to go in for higher education and do an MBA. The second thing, I also wanted to become a more productive, better manager, and I needed the tools in my tool belt to do that, and I think the MBA provides that.
Yeah, I think that ability to build relationships and, as you pointed out, become a better people manager, both, they certainly lend themselves, don't they, to a long runway in this industry. Keeping on the theme of education and your MBA, how did the program serve you in becoming the leader that you are today?
I think it really helped in terms of providing a broader perspective. A lot of the classes that I enjoyed were on strategy and on innovation. Those are the ones that I think probably some of my stronger skill sets that have flowered out of those classes. But I think overall, the NBA definitely allowed me to understand how to work with different people, the teamwork, the group work, the projects that were involved, working with so many different personalities. Those life lesson skills have been invaluable in terms of working with all different types of people in your career, and having those skill sets to understand what motivates, what drives, and really how to work to people's skill sets, their strongest skills, and leverage those skill sets.
I think working with so many different people is going to bring about different personalities, perspectives, scenarios, and problems to solve. And like you said, it deepens your understanding of what both drives and motivates the people you work with, and what you can do to bring out the best in their performance. So it sounds like the MBA has served you very well in that regards. Now let's take a closer look at the time that you spent with Cadillac Fairview at the Toronto Dominion Centre. It's a huge operation, largest single site multi-office building complex in Canada, and I believe it's in the top 3 in North America. Can you provide some context as to how big the footprint is, and how did you go about putting all the pieces together?
I think TD Centre is really a city within a city. It's 6 office towers, almost 4.5 million square feet. There's about 20,000 building occupants that work inside the complex every single day, and over 50,000 people pass through the property on a daily basis. All the tenants, a lot of them are blue chip tenants, a lot of law firms, a lot of large law firms in Canada. And I had 45 staff reporting to me directly, and if you count all the indirect staff through contractors and vendors, probably add another 45. So from between 90 and 100 staff working at the property each and every day. So it really was a large machine, and it really took a lot of people to make that building operate successfully operate on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, there's certainly many layers to that operation. And as you rightly pointed out, it really is a city within a city and it houses a very prestigious business community, which absolutely requires very high standards when it comes to innovation and operational excellence to meet those daily demands. Now, I know loyalty goes a very long way in this industry. It's something that you value, as you've demonstrated through the 12 years that you've been working at Cadillac Fairview. What is it that led you away from CF and towards Heinz?
It was easy. I think it really had to do with learning new skills. I know it's kind of a little bit of a cliche, and you've heard this answer many times from many of the people you've spoken to, but it is in fact very true. It was something that I wanted to do, was learn something new. I'd been at Cadillac Fairview in the TD Center for a dozen years, and I felt like I had reached the end of my learning curve there. I've seen and done things over and over again and had many accomplishments and had built a wonderful team that I couldn't have achieved those accomplishments without. But it was becoming quite repetitive, and I really was not growing as an individual. The opportunity came about to take on a new development, CIBC Square, and be there from literally the ground up, build it, pull together a team, put together all the procedures, welcome all the tenants, and then get it up and running through operations. And that was a very, very strong learning curve for me.
I think it really is our human nature to want to continue to expand our tool belt of skills and knowledge. So it's good to see that you had the drive to continue learning and seek those opportunities elsewhere. Talking about CIBC Square for a moment, the Highview team were fortunate to have the opportunity to tour the property with David recently. And it is an incredibly impressive building in terms of design and how it connects with the two largest transport hubs in the core, as well as Scotiabank Arena. And you also have the elevated park that will connect with the second tower, where construction is well underway. So if you haven't had an opportunity to head down to CIBC Square, certainly do so. And I'm sure that you'll be as impressed as we were. We're now going to focus the conversation in and around leadership, which is the theme of this podcast. So what is it about managing and leading teams that really gets you fired up?
Well, I think it has to do with building the foundation of a team, and that's trust. A team really isn't just not a group of people that just come together and work. A team is about people who trust each other. I think without trust, you're no longer challenged. You no longer have commitments and supports from your team members, and you can't hold each other accountable and achieve results. I've always looked at trust as an airplane. We begin at 30,000 feet, and over time, if you don't perform, you don't maintain your altitude, you're going to fly at much lower altitudes, and that's how you lose trust. You often hear the word about trust being something that you earn it, but I've always believed that's something that is lost. I always start out my team at 30,000 feet and agree on trust, and over time, if you don't maintain it, trust is definitely lost.
The foundations for a team, I don't think they can be built without trust, and it helps in many ways. It can also help overcome resistance to change. It has a huge impact on the longevity of a team as well with regards to retention. I think people want to come to a place of work where they feel safe, they feel they have a voice, they feel valued, there's respect towards one another. If you were to describe your management style, what would that look like?
I mean, anyone who's worked with me knows that I've always favored collaboration over direction. I don't like to create tension or competition amongst my team as a way to really drive them. Often you hear about this in a team analogy in team sports, where a coach pushes their players to, in the hopes of making them grow and stronger. Instead, I've always had, from my personal experiences, that my teams and individual performance on my teams, I think, is best achieved when team members are engaged and they're supported and they feel like they're stakeholders in the organization and they have a say in the property's vision. Now, that's certainly not to say that I don't challenge people, but I think teams or people, individuals should be self-empowered to challenge themselves and each other. Work hard and not feel like they're being judged or measured against each other around them.
I think it's safe to say that most of us, if not all of us, want to feel that our voice is being heard, that we're being listened to. It is a recurring theme as to why our candidates resign. When there's a lack of collaboration, staff can just be left feeling disempowered versus empowered to share their thoughts and ideas. So I think creating that platform, I feel, is the best for everyone involved. So focusing on leadership, what do you feel are the traits of a great leader, David?
Well, I've always believed that a leader's purpose is to empower each team member, based on their own individuality. I mentioned this earlier. Everyone's got skills, everyone's got their own skills and their own personality, and I think it's incumbent upon a leader to identify them and build upon those individual skills and personality for a better team collective. To build on that, I've always thought that leadership is about positive influence and not just being authoritative. Positive, what I mean by that is, leadership is equal parts art and science. But for the most part, I do try and influence a team by making them feel, important in the sense that they're important in the decision making and the problem solving and the conflict resolution, and giving everyone recognition for their success. Positive influence as a leader, I think, is about creating new leaders, not just merely followers of followers. You want to create leaders on your team. And I've always said, anyone who's worked with me, I've always said that my leadership is not when I'm present. I know things go well when I'm present. I always judge my team of how well things go when I'm absent. Said differently, I think leadership is not measured when things go according to plan, when the leader's there, but rather, why don't we look at how well things go when the leader is not present?
Wow, that's a really powerful message. I think that it brings integrity into play. It's that notion around, what is it that you do when no one else is watching? Or in this case, when the leader is off the court, do you continue to play at the same level? I think it's just a great way of measuring the impact of your leadership. So thanks for sharing that one, David. I'm curious to know, is there a leadership quote that's really stood out for you over the years?
There is. For a long time, I've always liked the Nelson Mandela quote, and I've lived by this one, is that I lead from the back and let others be in the front. And I think this speaks to my personal leadership principles that I've spoken about earlier, and that's trusting your team members and empowering them. I'm not the most important person on my team or in my career. It's the success of people around me that's most important to me. And a number of my staff over the years have said it to me in a different way. They've always said to me that, David's always in the back when there is success and recognition to be awarded, but he's always up front when a failure is at hand.
It very much speaks to servant leadership, where you are in essence serving the greater good. And with that, there are times when you need to sit back and you just need to trust and empower your staff. And I also agree that there are times when our team is facing adversity and we need to stand front and center. And this segues nicely into the next question, which is, what are the big do's and don'ts when it comes to becoming a leader, in your opinion?
I think the big do is about self-awareness. And this is, I think, what makes effective and positive, influential leaders. Ask yourself, I ask myself the question, or one should ask themselves the question is, do I show and do I demonstrate trustworthiness? Do I know that I'm competent? Do I have empathy? Do I have integrity? Do I have confidence? Do I have consistency and some humility? I mean, these are the self-awareness things that I ask myself, and I think what every leader should ask themselves on a regular basis. I mean, the don'ts are the opposite of that. Am I untrustworthy? Do I not have enough confidence? Do I not have enough empathy or integrity or confidence, etc., etc.? Judge yourself realistically, honestly. If you feel that you don't have them, then how can you build yourself up and become more self-aware in those areas that I've just mentioned?
Absolutely. Be the leader that you would follow and build on those skills and attributes in areas that perhaps are in need of development. It is great to see now so many real estate companies investing in the resources to help their leadership team to become more self-aware. As we have said on other episodes and from speaking with our candidates, there's this common theme, and that is people leave managers, not companies. But thankfully, there doesn't appear to be a skill or an attribute that doesn't have some form of a training course or coaching program to support that growth. Now, you are known as Mr. Think Outside the Box when it comes to your own hiring strategies. And I've experienced this firsthand when we've worked on roles together. Why are you drawn to this way of thinking, David?
I mean, for me, it's always been quite simple. I can always teach real estate and property management skills. Those are hard skills, hard skill sets. I can't teach softer skills like strong work ethic and motivation and pride of work or customer service orientation, problem solving, decision making, and just general culture and personality traits. So looking outside the real estate industry for these skill sets, I think, is only appropriate. Those are much more important to me because the hard skills of, like I said, the hard skills of real estate and property management can easily be taught.
We've applied the same rule at Highview, where we have hired 3 consultants with limited or no prior experience in recruitment. We hired them on the basis of cultural fits, customer service, and what we deem to be transferable skills. 2 came from inside of the real estate industry and 1 from hospitality, and all 3 have turned out to be a great success. So I certainly recommend and advocate for this approach. Now, when it comes to building and engaging your team, how do you go about that?
Building a team, as I mentioned, I think I've always built a team around those soft skills and try and find individuals that have those soft skills as opposed to the hard skills. Building a team around people that are within your network or have one degree of separation from your network. Obviously, knowing them is obviously important because those soft skills are often hard to measure. Those are the soft skills that are not always on the resume that you can see or you can ask probing questions or feel them in a way. So knowing individuals is important. The last part on engaging a team is really just being honest with them about what are their performance objectives. I've always been a big advocate for setting performance objectives and being honest with them, setting them up front. Every year, early up front with regular check-ins, so there's no surprises at all throughout the year, and speaking to each individual and really being an advocate for their success, ensuring and supporting that they meet those objectives at the end of the year is the best thing I think that a leader could do to really motivate and engage individuals and a team.
Are you looking for a recruitment partner that understands your unique hiring needs and can truly represent your business to the market? When you work with Highview Partners, it will feel like an extension of your company. Our process is proven to help you find exceptional talent, which we accomplish by understanding your company's values and culture first. We then commit to a strategic plan, navigate any challenges, and find the candidate who fits the role and your company best. Together, we will help you build a winning team. To discover more about our services, contact us today or visit us at highviewpartners.ca.
Some time now for a little introspection, David. If you were to highlight the top 3 decisions that you have made over the lifespan of your career that really helped to elevate your position in the industry, what would they be?
I think first I've always thought that real estate is like a trade. Throughout my career, I've learned more through hands-on than I have through books or through seminars. I think number two is no matter the geography or the industry or the function or the work setting that you're in, I think there is a universal definition for what makes a top performer. And it's not very clever, but I think it always comes down to these things. This is what I've always looked for in demonstrating the right balance of competence, commitment, and compatibility. Compatibility being fit. And then the third thing is that I've noticed throughout my career is that great leaders are not know-it-alls. I always looking to learn more, not outshine others around me if they know more than me, and not always be the center of focus.
Some really great insights there around the decisions that have helped you to move the needle in your career by rolling up your sleeves and being open to continuous learning and working towards being a top performer. Thanks for sharing. So, if you were to grab a coffee with Junior Hoffman at the start of your career in real estate, what would you tell your younger self?
I wish someone would have told me this early on, decades ago, is that don't let the fear of failure hinder your ability or motivation to move forward. I think this is a great life lesson that I will pay forward to my kids. And definitely to anyone who is young in this industry that's just starting. Fear of failure has always been something that should not be a hurdle.
Well, I think Junior Hoffman and Junior Ashley and many young professionals could benefit from those wise words, especially because we live in a society where there is such an emphasis on success and winning, and that fear of being unsuccessful and losing, it can leave people sitting on the sideline, not speaking their voice, not taking action, and ultimately missing out on opportunities that were otherwise accessible. So I think it's a great reminder for our listeners that each and every one of us has this unique set of attributes, qualities, values, experiences, and in turn, you bring a unique perspective to any conversation. So don't live in the fear that your answer may not be the answer that others are expecting or accepting, because that is not failure. That is an opportunity not only for you to learn, but also for those around you to benefit from your message and learn as well. Actually, there's another great quote from Nelson Mandela that's springing to mind. It's very simple, but impactful. And that is, I never lose. I either win or learn. And I think that's been a theme throughout today's conversation, David, around the power of learning and how this can lead us to becoming great leaders. So thanks for reminding us of that. Now, on to the quick fire round of questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite activity away from the office?
Riding very fast on my motorcycle.
I knew the answer to that one. The book you recommend most to others to read?
The book that I'm reading now is called The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. And the book that I've read previously a number of times, it's called It's Your Ship by Michael Abrashoff.
What makes you proud to be Canadian?
I think the Tragically Hip and their final concert from Kingston a few years back. That was a very emotional moment for me.
So it wasn't Canada's performance at the World Cup a couple of months ago?
No comment on that one.
Your best ever investment? I'm interested to hear this one.
I remember a very key stat from my MBA, and I had read that 85% of professional money managers can't beat the market. So I don't try and outsmart them. I just invest my money in market ETFs and just meet the market performance.
What do you do to blow away the cobwebs at the end of a long work day or week?
I go for a long swim in the swimming pool.
What puts the fire in your stomach? What makes you jump up and out of bed in the morning?
I read a great article a number of years ago. I've reread it many times. It's about the analogy of life as like a puzzle. and the nuances of life are like a puzzle. Each of us are trying to put the pieces back together and complete it. And life is always pulling the pieces apart, and you're always trying to get ahead of it. So that's what really gets me up and excited, just all the pieces of the puzzle that I can put together, all the nuances of life that I can accomplish any day of the week.
I wonder how many pieces are in your puzzle. Is it 1,000, 5,000, 10,000?
It's definitely a 1,000 piece puzzle. Yeah,
it's going to take some time to put it together.
That someone just literally dropped on the table,
and some of the pieces are on the floor.
Yeah, pick them up off the floor, and all over the place.
Your proudest achievement?
That's easy. That has to be my loving family, my wife and my 2 boys.
Wonderful. Who has been the biggest influence on your career to date?
I can't say there's any one individual that's been the biggest influence on my career. Instead, I do want to thank all of my bosses that I've had over my career. I want to thank them for both the strong lessons that they've taught me, and also learning and seeing their mistakes and their leadership style that I don't want to mimic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your quick fire answers. And that now brings us to the final question. But before we wrap up, I'd like to say a big thank you, David, for all the insights that you've shared with our listeners today. I think there is a lot of value in understanding and knowing how you've navigated your way through managing and leading teams at 2 of the most esteemed building communities in the city. And we very much appreciate your willingness to share your journey. So thank you again. Right, the final question. With all that you have experienced over the past 20 years in your real estate career, if you were to highlight the big lessons and pay it forward to the next generation of industry leaders, what would they be?
It's going to sound like a very abstract response here, but just give me a moment to explain it. I think it has to do with humility, and specifically about intellectual humility. I think anyone who really aspires to be a leader or a great leader has to believe in this. Like, there's just no other way. You have to believe in intellectual humility. And what I mean by that is that you need to understand the need for just constant improvement. It's never ending. It's kind of like the puzzle. You're always putting the pieces together. It's never stop learning. You need to ask your followers or your people that you lead, to trust you and to take risks for you and to reach higher goals. And I don't think that's possible without constantly learning and constantly self-improving.
Thank you for listening to People Who Perform, the Real Estate Careers podcast brought to you by Highview Partners, a talent search and recruitment firm focused exclusively on Canadian real estate. If your real estate team is looking to find the best next hire, or if you're ready to make the best next move in your career, then reach out to Highview Partners today. Follow us on LinkedIn and visit us at highviewpartners.ca.